every Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, hanging out here inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Cafe Kubal located for you on the corner of Route 11 and Taft Road at Sweetheart Corners inside of their drive-thru location in North Syracuse. They're also located at 3501 James Street, 324 West Water Street, and 401 South Salina Street, all in Syracuse, New York. And of course, you can find them out in Manlius at 343 Fayette Street in Manlius, New York, in their giant behemoth of a brown striped building that looks like coffee being poured, and they will welcome you right in to their double-decker cafe out there. So make sure you go and see them today. And very happy to have Cafe Kubal with us, filling our cup up right here inside of the studio, and everywhere you go, make sure you head out to Cafe Kubal and support local. Let them know that Wake Up Call sent you their way. With that being said, very happy to be here with you for today's broadcast as we have the opportunity to continue three different pieces that we do here on the broadcast. First of them being our food challenges, where we have the opportunity to bring out a special guest to Mother's Cupboard at 3709 James Street in Syracuse, New York. And we bring them out there for great conversation and a food challenge. So we break bread together, we pick a meal together that we'd like to have, and as we're eating that meal together, seeing who finishes first with that meal, we're also having a conversation with one another and breaking bread and talking about life, talking about sports, talking about the community, and the things that bond us. So it's a fantastic way. It's really evolved. It's not just a food challenge. It really is, breaking bread together. It really is just getting to know the people in our community and what makes them tick and what their why is and how we can help one another and be there for each other. So it's really a beautiful segment, and I'm so happy that we get to do it today in continuing that and showcasing Coach Hicks, who's going to be joining us here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora in just a little bit. So Will Hicks going to be on the show. Very excited to have Coach Will Hicks on the broadcast, as he will be joining us in this special from Mother's Cupboard, and we will have the opportunity to hear what he has to say and him share his stories. And he's got a lot of incredible stories. We have a lot of fun with this segment that we got to bring to you from the wonderful people at Mother's Cupboard. Want to thank Pete and Amy and the entire team at Mother's Cupboard for all that you do to continue to make a New York staple, a Syracuse staple, our community staple, such a wonderful place to go with great food, great conversation, and really, honestly, a place unlike any other. So a big thanks to Mother's Cupboard, and we want to definitely send you our love. So thank you for all that you're doing, and thank you for being a part of the show. And to all the wonderful people that are here in our community and outside of our community, if you've been to Mother's Cupboard, head back. If you haven't been there, then make sure that you go off to Mother's Cupboard today and see what it's all about, because it really is a wonderful place with wonderful people, and very happy to be able to do these broadcasts from there. So we'll be doing that with Coach Hicks here inside of MonPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. We'll be doing that in just a moment, sharing that segment with you from Mother's Cupboard. And then we're back here with the Commissioner Central series, starting off hour number 2, and that'll be at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. We will be joined by the Commissioner of the Patriot League, and that is Jennifer Heppel, and we will have an extensive conversation as we continue our Commissioner Central series. Our Commissioner Central series, if you are new to it, you can go and check it out on any of our outlets, and you can go check them out in the archives on Stitcher, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Podbean. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on any one of these outlets, or one word, Wake Up Call DT, and you'll be able to find all of our pieces there as we talk with commissioners and executive directors from around the country when it comes to the world of collegiate athletics. And each of these commissioners, including Jennifer Heppel today, speaks with us about the strength and evolution of their specific conference, as well as the bigger picture of name, image, and likeness, aka NIL, the transfer portal, the NCAA, and the future of collegiate athletics. And Jennifer Heppel's had a lot of experience and has been a part of different committees and whatnot. And so what she's going to be able to bring to us today is worth anyone who is a fan of sports or collegiate athletics in general you need to lend an ear to this one, because Jennifer really does have a lot of information that she can share with us, and I'm excited to share that with you today. And then we'll round off the show as we do every Tuesday with the ingredients to success, proudly brought to you by Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. And we will be at Avicolli's tonight to celebrate our Section 3 Class AA champions of softball, who are working toward a state title as they just got a victory and are continuing on this week. We'll have them on site, on location, with head coach Phil DeAugustine and the team at Avicolli's on the pizza side today, June 7th at 5:30 p.m. So come out and see us, support local as far as teams go, support the local high school of Liverpool, support Avicolli's, and just be here with us tonight to break some bread and have some fun. So it's funny how we start the show by breaking bread, and we end the day today by breaking bread with the community. So very excited to do that, and we will do that right after this fast break, where sports meets that thing called life, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we will be back with Coach Hicks right after this.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
This is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge, and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item, available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating. Find them at 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and all the time online at maandpaspopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, you can order all throughout the country at maandpaspopcorn.com. And remember to get your tins, which have in-store half-price refills forever. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory, available to you for fundraising and all of your events by calling 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you? What's up, everyone? Dan Tortora here of Wake Up Call, on site, on location at our favorite place for food challenges. That is Mother's Cupboard, 3709 James Street, Syracuse, New York. You know this gentleman for being on the show audio-wise and video, showing his mug and lending his voice. This is Coach Hicks, Will Hicks, with a fantastic connection to Syracuse University and to our community for so long, and we're very spoiled to have him. So we're here today. He chose what we're eating. So we have some mac salad. We have our fish dinner, which, you know, is a card-carrying Catholic. I love that. And then thanks to Pete Green, the owner here, we have our clam strips as well. So Coach Hicks, welcome to the show once again.
Glad to be here. Glad to be here. And for the fish dinner.
So you are not a stranger to Mother's Cupboard, are you?
No, come here probably at least once a week for breakfast.
And what's your go-to breakfast?
Usually the Western fish, the Western breakfast sandwich.
Now, how long did it take you to find Mother's Cupboard here in the community?
About a week.
About a week? All right.
I heard about the frittata and I heard about the pancakes. So I first came and I brought my kids, and I was they were going to get pancakes. And I remember the waitress said, "Just get one for the table." And when they brought it out, it was the size of a pizza. I figured I said, they were right.
We did a pancake challenge. We did a pumpkin pancake, and then I did one with blueberry. And when you look at this plate, it fills the entire plate. And they're good. They're very good.
Everything is good.
Yeah.
And the food's good. The pizza's over here right before you got here. And we were talking, a little diner like this is food's quality, but the biggest thing is it's part of the community of the people. Guys come in here and drink coffee and sit around and talk about the basketball game the night before, or what happened in the football game. If you're a Red Sox fan, who's here playing this weekend? If you're a Yankees fan, it's a this is a fixture of the community where people like to come and feel good. And people saying now you've got people that come back who used to come here, and now their kids come and they bring their grandkids.
And I mean that's the thing is it's a part of the fabric of the community, and it's been here for so long. To me, it's a pillar of what we have here. It's one of the things that's known about Syracuse. And what I love about it is my grandparents, who are all up in heaven now, my grandparents right down the street, my grandmother is right off of James Street, my grandma, my grandpa on my dad's side were here off on Rig Eye. And then if you go a little bit ways down James Street, kind of turn the corner, Delmar Place, that's where my other grandparents were. So this was always a street that we would frequently be on, and so to me, to be able to come here to work with them, to partner with Mother's Cupboard, and to eat here and just bring my cousins here, bring my family here, bring my friends here, and break bread, it's to me, it's like a tribute back to my family that grew up in this neighborhood.
What impresses me about it is, I'm from, South Manhattan, which I always joke about.
Yeah.
From the Carolinas. This is a sports place.
Yeah.
It's not a sports bar, it's a sports place.
Yeah.
When people come to breakfast in the morning and drink a cup of coffee and they talk about games, they talk about high school games, they talk about the local colleges, they talk about their students, they talk about Lemoyne.
Yeah.
And that's as big a part of the community as going to the game itself, is the armchair quarterbacks or the armchair point guards the next day. But anytime after a game you come in here, there's somebody having a cup of coffee that knows a whole lot more about what happened in the game than what really happened. But that's just kind of part of sports.
Do you like talking to the fans about the games?
Not really.
Okay.
But I respect the fans about the game. And my opinion has always been on that. It's kind of like the presidential election. Right?
No, we're doing good. Thank you.
If you voted, you have a right to complain about the president if you don't like what's going on.
Right.
If you didn't vote, don't complain. So my idea about fans is, do you have tickets? Did you go to the game? If you did, you have a right to complain. If you didn't, don't complain.
And
it's a support factor.
No, and I'm in full agreement with that. I tell people all the time, I said, of all the people, it's weird because there's such a high percentage of fans that want to talk about recruiting. And they love talking about recruits, and they always want to talk about potential. And then once they get here, they don't come see them play.
Right.
But they always want to know about who's coming in, but they're not necessarily buying tickets. And I said, if everybody that connected with my show or, in general about recruits came to the games, then the dome would be sold out. And I struggle with that. I also struggle with, what were you going to say? Because there's another point to that.
My thought process is it's not, everybody knows our budgets and all are set on ticket sales.
Yeah.
But it's not even the financial aspect of it. Is people talk about recruiting, they don't realize when we're recruiting athletes, they notice full stadiums or empty stadiums. They notice
when you leave.
They notice people in the stands, and they want to play the full houses because the energy in a building, the energy in a stadium helps the team.
Yeah.
And when you recruit kids and you tell them, hey, you're going to play in front of X number of fans every week, and these fans love you, and they're rabid, and this and that, it helps your recruiting. So you want us to recruit better players, be more supportive of the kids we have now, because it shows for the kids in the future.
Well, and I think, too, I say this all the time when I'm sitting in the press box. I said, when you see fans leave in the third quarter, right? And one of the things that I had said, and most fans responded and were supportive of it. A couple of people said, it's my money, I'll do whatever I want. But I said, recruits come on visits. They come on visits to games. If a recruit's at a game and they see 30,000 fans and in the fourth quarter there's only 10,000 fans left and they watch all these people leave, why would they want to come play for you? They go to Notre Dame, it stays packed the whole time. You go to Penn State, it stays packed the whole time. Florida State, when they played Syracuse and beat Syracuse by 56 that first time around in Tallahassee in the ACC, the only fans that left were Syracuse fans. The other 80+ thousand Florida State fans, they stayed, they partied, they cheered, they had a great time. So to me, if you're leaving in the third quarter, you're leaving, well, one of those recruits, two of those recruits, 10 of those recruits are sitting at the bleachers in the dome looking around going, oh wow, these people, when the fans, when the team's losing, they stop supporting. When the team's winning by 10 in the fourth quarter, they leave then too. So I think it's hard to sell that when people are walking out of the arena.
Well, that's a great point, but the other point is too, you don't never know when you're going to miss a classic ending.
Right, and Doug Marone said that.
Yeah, you never know when you're going to miss a classic ending.
He said,
I was here when we beat VTech in overtime. Maurice McLean intercepted a pass in the end zone. Game over. A couple years ago when the ball got stripped and ran back at again into overtime under Coach Baker.
Sure, William.
Yeah. You never know when you're going to miss a classic moment that you don't want to see on TV. You want to be there for it.
Yeah.
So stick to the end.
And Doug Marone had said it a few seasons ago. He had made the statement. They came back and won the game. I think they came back in the second half and then turned things around. And he said, for everybody that left in the third quarter, you missed a hell of a game.
I was at NC State when we beat South Carolina with no time on the clock.
Yeah.
South Carolina had to beat 4-point lead. 1986. Our quarterback was Eric Kramer.
Yeah.
Played the pros for a long time.
Yeah.
We had one shot at it. South Carolina jumped off sides. We threw an incomplete pass. Game over. South Carolina jumped off sides. Game came in on a defensive penalty. They gave us one more play. No time on the clock. We threw a Hail Mary. Danny Peoples catches the end zone. We win. Game over. To the left, you've never seen it.
Well, I always ask people here, I was like, this isn't Atlanta, this isn't Orlando.
Right.
When you leave a game early, like, what's traffic going to go from? 15 minutes to 30 minutes? I mean, it's not,
Barely.
where are you trying to get to?
And you're not trying to rush off to get something to eat because most covers closed at that time.
Say 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. daily. So, it's a beautiful thing to be able to be here in the community and to talk about this. And Coach, you are from the South, you're from the Carolinas, and you stayed so committed to this community, and you've helped so many guys get to the NFL. What's made you stay here?
The community itself. I'm still trying to figure out the snow. I'm not a big fan of the weather, but
When your airport's closed down, you get 3 inches of snow.
they don't have hurricanes and tornadoes up there like you have in the South, so the only thing we have is snow. You can't shovel away a hurricane, at least you can shovel away the snow.
I said we have the only storms you can play in after the Cubs.
What I really fell in love with up here is the people and the little local places. I'm not a big chain guy. If I'm a little local, I want to support local. So I love like all the little local pubs and little local restaurants and local bars and mom and pop kind of places. I really enjoy it. And when Coach B kept coming after me to come here, I thought this was like New York. And he said, just give it a chance. And I came up here and I thought it was going to be, New York City.
Sorry, unavailable.
It's no different than where I'm from. It's just where I'm from, we have tobacco and here y'all have corn.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful area. The people are great. That's the biggest thing. I really like the people.
And being around the people that you've been around, when you look at the players that you've got to mentor and be there for, I don't want to ask you a favorite because I know there's so many, but what have been some of your favorite stories of like the guys that got drafted that you helped to train?
David Tyree. Went late in the draft just because he's a special teams player. And ended up one of the biggest catches ever in Super Bowl history. Made the Pro Bowl as a special teams player, just on pure work ethic and determination. Now he's doing very well. He does something similar to what you do now. He's got some radio stuff going. And, but, you know, late round draft pick, phone call from him. As soon as it happened. Marco Thomas, phone call from him while he was on the phone with Pittsburgh.
One of my closest friends. Great guy.
And his story, the fact that he just made it with everything that he did for his family and what he went through. You know, the Justin Pugh reaction when he went to the Giants. So excited. Chandler Jones. I mean, it's a lot of these guys that have just been, you know, they're what it does for them and their families and just excitement. But I guess what makes me feel really good about it is, you know, their families are involved, or if they're not here, they call their families, and you know, I might not be the first phone call, but I'm in the top 2 or 3. When they get that call, then I get a call from them, and you know, it's always very appreciative. And, you know, thank you for believing in me, Coach. Thank you for sticking with me, Coach. And those things are why you coach.
It's one thing to get on the phone with them in a moment like that, but you said not only do you talk to them, but they call you. What does that mean to you that in that moment where 1 million people are calling them, they take the time to call you? And thank you for what you did.
All set, Coach Hicks?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, honey.
Well, obviously Coach Hicks won the
I won the food challenge.
Yeah, you won
He's
the
the winner!
I won the food challenge. Now that we've warmed up, bring another plate. But no, what it means to me is that kind of just solidifies that you're doing it the right way. You know, everybody knows sets and X's and O's, and those things are very, very important. But you get more response out of the player when you touch the player first. The other part comes, and you know, I got letters by my name and certifications and all these kind of things. But I've always said, you know, players, they don't care how much you know till they realize how much you care. So, you know, they don't care how many letters I got past my name. They want to know if I have a true desire to help them get better. And that doesn't always mean make them an NFL player. It might mean make that walk-on kid just get a chance to make the bus. Or get on the dress list. Some of those kids might be the hardest working kids I've ever had in the weight room and running program. Just because they want a chance to play. Some of the talented kids, it comes easy for them. And the ones that work hard become great players. So it's not necessarily just to how good you become. It's just to be better tomorrow than you were today. And I've always had a sign in the weight room, did you get better today? Every time you walk out, it's right above the door when you walk out. So you have to answer yourself that question. You don't have to answer me that question. I know, I watched you. You have to answer that question to yourself. Did you get better today? And you know, I think those things go way past sports. They go past, you know, every day when we wake up, we're going to be better today. You're going to be a better husband, a better father, a better community leader, a better citizen. Just be better today. A little bit. I don't have to be dramatic, just a little bit. You know? I ordered a fish dinner today instead of a fish sandwich, so I didn't eat the bread. So I'm better today.
You're better today. You did better today. you know, and I mean, Coach, as we're here with Coach Hicks, longtime connection to Syracuse University in our community. Myself, Dan Tortora, here on Wake Up Call inside a Mother's Cupboard, 3709 James Street, and in Syracuse, New York. And not only the food challenge, but it's really become a breaking bread together special.
It's I feel honored that you call me as much as you do, and you let me be involved. Because Syracuse is a close knit. People live and breathe what happens with SU sports. With even LeMoyne sports, OCC lacrosse, OCC baseball. This is a sports area. I mean, there's a lot of Buffalo Bills fans here, there's a lot of New York Giants fans here, but they're all ours away. We don't share it with a pro team. And people enjoy it. Everything that's been going on around here, COVID, and this, and everything, unrest and politics. You know what a nice diversion is? A ball game.
You got big shoulders, though.
And people enjoy it. That's why I think when the dome got opened back up from COVID, people were so excited to come, and then when you could finally, not have to test, not wear masks, and all these type of things.
Yeah.
This is diversion from the everyday drudge or grind.
Yeah, and I tell people that. I mean, the tagline for Wake Up Call and what I've always done is that where sports meets life. And what I mean by that is, I use sports as a vehicle, but inside of that vehicle, I'm just using sports as an excuse to spread comedy, humility, community, just positivity. I want this show to be a place where people can come to get away from the pain that they're feeling, the things that are going on. This world has many reasons to cause you to get anxious, but this world also has many people like yourself that cause you to take a step back and go, oh, there's good people out there. There's people helping the community.
I've been in college sports 37 years, and I can tell you one thing. You want to know a true, what's the catchphrases now? Diversity and inclusion. You want to know a true diverse inclusion type atmosphere? A college locker room. You got kids from every part of the country, from different countries, from every economic background, from every type of social background, different religion. They're sharing the same common goal. They're sharing the same locker room. They're dressing together. They're showering together. They went through the same practice. They didn't change practice just because where you were from. They went through the same activity. And the most formidable years you have, your best friends will be people you met during those college years that you played ball with, or people you met during your high school years, sharing a common goal, playing for a championship, playing for a team.
Yeah.
And I know me and you've talked before, I think the big thing about sports is get yourself to believe that you play for the name on the front of the shirt versus the name on the back of the shirt. It really changes who you become. And you become part of your community. That's why I love around here. I'm from the area where you play for a town. When you look around here, you got JD. You got FM, you got Tully, you got Phoenix. They play for a town. There's pride in that school or that area. I know we were talking about Justin Knight earlier. When he crosses the finish line, he does this in Syracuse. He don't pat himself on the back. The Cuse is across the front of his singlet that he runs in. He does this for Syracuse. Because he didn't get better without the university helping him, without his teammates helping him. And that's why I think sport brings people together, and not just the athletes themselves. One of my all-time favorite movies, I don't know if you've ever watched it, a movie about a wrestler called Vision Quest. Ever seen Vision Quest? You should. I don't even know if you can rent movies anymore. I think there's some way you find it.
I'll find it.
But you got to find this movie Vision Quest. It's about a underdog wrestler that has to make weight to wrestle this championship wrestling. And he works at a hotel as like a room service delivery busboy kind of guy. There's another guy that works there that kind of befriends him, an older guy. So the night of his wrestling match, he goes by to see this guy to get some advice.
Yeah.
And the guy's, you know, putting on a shirt from the dry cleaners, and he went and got a haircut, and he done all this stuff to come to his wrestling match. And this kid is a big underdog, kind of feeling like he doesn't have a chance.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, you don't even have to come. I don't think I'll win and all that, you know. And this big fan that he is tells a story. He goes, it doesn't matter. He goes, I've watched grown people, when he was talking about Pele, I've watched grown people be brought to tears by watching what another human being could do in a game with a soccer ball.
Yeah.
And it changes everybody's life.
Yeah.
He goes, I'm going to be at your match for those 7 minutes regardless of what happens, because it changes people's lives. It's a great movie. Everybody should watch Vision Quest.
I think one, going off of football, that I love, that I was thinking about when you were saying that, is a movie with Kevin Costner called Draft Day.
Oh, great movie.
And I own it, and I will watch it when it's on television, but I'll never forget that note where he had the name of the player no matter what. And he had already made the decision that this is who I'm drafting. And I still say to this day, it's the best, since the Browns came back in '99, it's the best Browns draft that ever happened.
Great movie because there's parts of it kind of based on, so the GM for the Cardinals, Steve Kine, I recruited him out of high school. He played for me at NC State, and he was my assistant strength coach. And some of the things in that movie are based off some of what Steve did as a young GM at the Cardinals. And so I always watch, every time I watch that movie, I call Steve. I said, it really happened that way? He said, the whole story's not about our stuff, only parts of it.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Kevin Costner. So, I mean, sports movies. Everybody asks me, the best sports movie. I think it's like James Rudy and all that. Maybe the best sports movie is For the Love of the Game. Ever seen that one with Kevin Costner?
That's one that I have. That is one that is in my ownership. So.
For the Love of the Game.
Yeah.
And you know, it's not the storyline in the movie.
Yeah.
It's just how, you know, he pitches the perfect game and it goes through. And at the very end, when he decides to step away, and he sends the ball with a note written on it to the owner, and he steps away for the love of the game. So when I first left football, I'm doing Olympic sports in Syracuse. And I've got a poem that's about the love of the game. So I'm with our women's rowing team. We're going to NCAA. So I take it and make copies of this little poem for the love of the game. Yeah. Put it in the envelope. Put a little note on each one and put it in every girl's seat on the way to the game. To the regatta, or whatever. And the kids did well that weekend, but a couple of years later, I got a note from one of the athletes on that team, the girls on the rowing team, that said she still has that pinned up on the bulletin board, and she looks at it all the time for the love of God. Even if there was a lot of people there to watch it, you can't hear them.
Yeah.
I mean, they're out there in the water by themselves rowing against a clock.
Yeah.
You know, and they're not doing it for the accolades, they're not doing it for the TV, they're not doing it for the fans in the stands. You know, it's for the love of the game. So that's why I think that Kevin Costner movie touches me a little bit, because real competitors care less about anything except the game.
Yeah.
And what the game means to them. And I mean, you've heard a lot of people say they can never give back to the game what the game did to them. And it's not professionals, it's not for the amount of money, it's not for that.
Yeah.
Like I say, it could be for that walk-on that you got the dress, like the Rudy movie. You got the dress for one guy.
Yeah.
You know? It could be all these stories you see in different high school kids that got some issues and this and that, and that school allows them to get a snap in or a play in or go in and take a shot.
Yeah.
Because it changes not just that individual, it changes the people that were involved in allowing that to happen.
Yeah.
And that's something that sports or drama or music or something that that somebody decides to get involved in, and they do it to the best of their ability, can change people around them and themselves for the good.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not just the players, it's not just the coaches. Being a broadcaster and working in multimedia and sports and running my company, I get to meet people like yourself, and I tell people all the time, I'm like, I feel so grateful, you know, and I never thought in a million years, but I'm 18 years in to be a broadcaster, and we've had over 3,000 people on the show. And I can go back and say, this person, you try to, like, you remember things and how people made you feel and what they did for you and what they said. I feel like sports, even though I'm not out there playing on the field or the court, it's giving back to me all the time. It's allowing me to make the world smaller. It's allowing me to tell stories. It's allowing me to see people succeed. And every time somebody does, it gets me emotional. It gets me excited. When I see a coach do something incredible, I'll never forget Jay Brown when he got drafted in the 3rd round by the Giants. I was in my grandma's old house over here on Rig Eye, and I was in her home. She had passed away, and I was living there, and so I was in the kitchen, and I called him, and he answers the phone, and I'm thinking in my head, like, he's not going to answer, he's busy. But I would like to, you hope you build relationships and you don't know until you know. And he answers the phone, and I was like, Jay, and he just said, he goes, we did it, baby, we did it. And then I was talking to him, and you could hear him smile. He was like, I know. And we were talking about everything, and I was like, dude, this is a great moment. Like, I know your phone's blowing up, I know you're busy, but, like, thank you so much for answering the call. And he said again, he's like, we did it, baby, we did this. And to this day, when I call Jay to be on the show, what do you need, Dan? When do you need it?
Well, he's a class act.
But it's moments like that.
And if you know his story, I mean, we offered him late in July. He had no offers.
Yeah, he had one offer at the end of it.
He played in that All-Star game, the Boomer Esiason All-Star game. That's the Brooklyn All-Stars versus like the rest of the Long Island All-Stars in the summer.
Yeah.
And blew that whole game up. And Coach Alsamo, who was with Coach Brown's staff, who had been the head coach at Nassau Community College up here, happened to be at that game, and we offered him, and he came right there. And ended up being a great player for us, a 3rd round draft pick. And I think he played 5 or 6 years in the league.
Yeah, he played a lot of times with the Giants, went on to play with New Orleans, but you know, it's incredible to, like, sports, whether you're a broadcaster, you're a fan, you're a coach, you're strength and conditioning, you're a player, whatever it is, like, you get a parent, a brother, a sister, the game will change you if you let it, and it makes you a better person. Like, my world, when I see the world, how crazy it is, and everything that's going on and negativity, what always brings me back, besides my faith, is knowing a lot of great people. And I know a lot of great people because of sports. And I never thought, growing up as a kid, going to the dome, holding my dad's hand and coming into this dome and thinking, wow. You know, and sitting up in the nosebleeds at the top. And last year I did that. I ran out onto the field when Floyd's wife was here, and Floyd will always be a good friend. And I hope I get to see him someday. Because I know he's up there. When his wife was out there, we were allowed to go on the field at halftime. I looked and I was like, are we allowed to go? And I saw the other media go, and I ran. And as I'm running out onto the field, I looked up, I looked around, and I had this feeling in my chest of, like, I didn't play here, but it feels like that. Like, running out onto the field at the dome during the football game, like, I had all these emotions inside me, this ball of excitement, of nerves, of wanting to cry, and being proud of Floyd and all that. And I just remember standing there saying, you need to stand here and you need to look up and you need to look at where you and your dad used to sit, because that kid up there believed that he could get down here on this field, and a lot of people didn't believe he could. And those moments never leave me. It doesn't leave me that Dale Shackelford passed me the ball during a camp at SU, and I'm on Jim Boeheim court, and I grew up, I always wanted to play there. And the ball bounced once, hit me, and I was right by the foul line. I dribbled. I went to the right side of the foul line. I turned around. I shot a fadeaway, and I said, I don't care how many shots I made. I have to make this shot. I made it, and I looked at Dale, and I said, now they have to change your stat books. You got one more, and Dale's one of my closest friends now. So being a kid going into the Dome thinking, oh my God, this is incredible, wanting to get one autograph of the thousands of people, and now being the guy that they call, and we're friends now. John Wallace was my favorite player at 9 years old. We're friends now. And the world of sports has given back to me so much, and hard work pays off. God is great, and honestly, I mean, the kid that went into the Dome, I want to go back in time and I want to whisper in his ear and tell him, like, you have no idea what's coming. And I'm eternally grateful to sports because it's changed my life. I wouldn't know you without it.
Well, you know, I feel the same way. I feel the same way. Everything that's really good that's ever happened to me in my life has something to do with athletics and with sports. And I still remember, you know, my kids are, you know, the most precious things I have. And, you know, my daughter, world's biggest fan, and she's got so many great memories of just being with athletes I coach. Eric Payne and I, when he played here, when we upset Virginia Tech in overtime, my youngest, Carson, who played college football, rides off the field on Eric Payne's shoulders. You know, my middle son, Connor, when we were going to the NCAAs up here to win the national championship, you know, out on the court, guys are shooting free throws. He's catching Jerry McNair free throws and throwing them back to him. And then the Texas Bowl with Coach Schaefer, his son, he's a college football coach now. And my two boys, Coach Schaefer wanted them down on the sideline during the game. So when we make, you know, when Bristol and Sting, which one of the greatest calls ever, Coach Schaefer rolls the dice on, you know, Bristol hadn't been the punt returner the whole game. We had to get the ball farther down the field. He rolled the dice, and here comes Brisley in, and, you know, returns it 60-some-odd yards, and then a couple plays later, Terrell Hunt walks it in the end zone, you know, for a big win. And my sons were right there with me. And my daughter was up with our coaches' wives, and you know, those kind of moments I can never take away. And I miss a lot of time with my kids because of what coaching does, but I got a lot of moments back that I can never get without it. So,
that coming from Coach Hicks, Coach, we could stay here forever.
Yeah, we could tell stories forever. Pretty good stories. I can tell stories forever.
And we will have many stories to share. For now, from Mothers Covered on 3709 James Street in Syracuse, come out and see them daily, Monday through Sunday from 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. And obviously support Coach Hicks and Syracuse Athletics. And of course, I'm Dan Tortora.
We need a shout out for Pete.
Hi.
And we shout out Pete Green and all the work that she's done. And
Thank you, guys. Appreciate that.
Thank
Always.
you for everything you do.
Wonderful breakfast. I come here all the time, but I can't even finish a pancake by myself.
So we look forward to seeing you out here. We thank you for people like Pete Green in our community that make it what it is and make us happy to support them.
Yeah.
Talk to
I
you soon.
appreciate it.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
Cafe Cabal offers same-day local delivery of our products, offering no delivery charge for Onondaga County. Shop cafecabal.com for fresh roasted coffee beans, cold brew, travel mugs, and all your essential Cafe Cabal needs. Cafe Cabal, coffee for the soul.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant. In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you.
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand bread our chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have in any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
I'm George Townsend of Honda City with some good advice when buying a new car. The true cost of owning a new car is determined by the appraised value when you trade it. No vehicle appraises higher than a Honda. Next, look for low APRs and deep discounts. You also want low maintenance costs and great fuel economy. That's why my advice to you is to buy a new Honda. Looking pre-owned, visit our Honda Certified Used Car Center. Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard, Liverpool, or HondaCity-CNY.com.
It would be a pity if you don't shop at Honda City.
Our corporate purpose at Chick-fil-A is to glorify God by being faithful stewards of all that's entrusted to us and to positively influence all those who come in contact with Chick-fil-A. And what became increasingly clear from our success in Cicero is that people love Chick-fil-A. And also I think we recognized that we had a great opportunity to grow the brand and grow our platform. I felt incredibly grateful when I was selected to be a Chick-fil-A operator. I think what it's meant for me, what I've come to realize on a very deep level is that this is a calling for me. It's not a career. It's not a job. The Lord called me to be a Chick-fil-A operator and to use these restaurants to glorify Him and to positively influence other people. I'm blessed. I'm very blessed.
head to Chick-fil-A Clay on 3974 State Route 31 in Liverpool, New York. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. You are watching and listening on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, facebook.com/wakeupcalldt worldwide. You're also on facebook.com/livenowdt, on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage for audio as well as live internet streaming radio on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. We are inside of our Commissioner Central series, taking a look at conferences all around the country and having those commissioners and executive directors give their thoughts not only on the strength and evolution of their specific conference, but on the greater picture of name, image, and likeness, the transfer portal, the transformation committee, future of the NCAA, and the world of collegiate athletics as it continues to move forward. So with that being said, I am very honored and very privileged to have back here on the broadcast on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, the Patriot League Commissioner Jennifer Heppel. Always appreciate having Jennifer on. We got to feature her here within the past year or so, and I'm very happy to have her back for the Commissioner Central series. So with that being said, let's bring her in. Jennifer, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you. It's great to be back.
Absolutely. And Jennifer, very, happy to have you here to speak on, your conference specifically, as well as the, greater landscape of collegiate athletics. When I say Patriot League, you say what? How do you fill in that blank? If we were elevator pitching the Patriot League right now, what would you say?
That's a great question, and it would be a long elevator ride simply because I think that there is so much to say about the Patriot League. I mean, we're strong, we're stable, we're united. We have great trust in each other. I'll call it institutional fortitude and commitment to our mission.
And I love that. Like you said, it would be a long elevator ride, but you utilized
I stopped myself short there.
So the words that you did use here, why choose the words that you have chosen in that elevator pitch?
Because I really do think it's reflective. I mean, there is. I'm not naive. There's so much going out there. But as a league, I believe we've never been stronger. It's a tight-knit group of presidents and athletics directors that meet regularly and discuss the topics of the day, the league, the national issues. And we have spirited debate, but we also have shared values in the way that we approach athletics and the experience that we want to provide to our student athletes. And, so while there are a lot of substantive issues that are going on out there, and certainly our coaches are facing, we are really, really confident in who we are and how we conduct college athletics and the experience that we're able to provide to our student athletes and our communities.
And when you look at, trying to obviously keep the focus on your conference and on making sure that, you're taking care of, these communities that are within the conference in the world that we live in today and in the collegiate model that is trying to figure itself out today, how do you stay true to who the Patriot League is when you don't necessarily know what the nation is going to look like? How do you stay true to what the Patriot has always been? Can you keep that family, so to speak, of if the neighborhood is changing, can the household stay the same, so to speak?
Yeah, it's certainly a unique time. I think what we rely on is trust. And transparency. As I said, we have good spirited debate, and one of the reasons we can do that is that we trust each other and we believe in each other. And so, as a collective, I think everybody understands and respects the value that each institution is bringing to the table. we started as a football league in 1986 and became a multi-sport conference in 1990. So in the overall course and time and history of, 150 plus years of college athletics, we're newer as a league. We're only in our 32nd year, but we've been remarkably stable during that time. We started with, I'm sort of counting on my fingers right now, but started with 7 schools. 6 of those remain with us. We added one just a year later. That was Navy. Army was a founding member, and Navy remains, this is now 31 years later. That's our core, and we added American over 20 years ago, and about 10 years ago 2 more in Boston University and Loyola, Maryland. So we've remained stable, and I think that's due to trust and respect and just operationally. At the end of the day, you've got to run athletics. You have to play the games, you have to do championships, and you want to do that together. And we want to compete against each other.
Yeah, and having this family and having this family stick together over this, like you said, 32 years, the majority of this, having that continuity. And in the world we live in today in collegiate athletics, continuity is a fleeting thing. It's almost an afterthought in some cases. There's institutions that join a conference and the next year in another conference, or a couple of years from there, a school jumps from Division II to Division I and moves, or goes from FCS to FBS and within a decade is somewhere else. When the Patriot League can be proud of its continuity and be proud of its structure, really, that foundation of what this conference was built on, and the teams and the institutions that it was built on, when you have that consistency in today's inconsistent world, what does that do for you as a commissioner, as far as, maybe the pride that you have when you go to your office and sit in your chair?
Oh, absolutely. I'm immensely proud of the league, and I'm fortunate to be able to sit in the chair, and grateful for that opportunity. As I said, when you really trust and respect the people you work with, even the difficult conversations are easier to have. And I think that's just life. The more you respect the person sitting across the table, the easier it is to have open, honest, challenging, and difficult conversations. And it is a difficult time. But as I said, we sort through the issues and we talk about them. And, at the end of the day, the challenge is adapting in ways that make us stronger, but not fundamentally changing the goal and what we're able to provide for our institutions, our student athletes, our coaches, our administrators, and our communities.
I think that's a beautiful piece here, speaking with Jennifer Heppel, the commissioner of the Patriot League, and what you said, just making sure that as you grow and as you blossom and as you evolve, you don't lose your identity. And that's something that a lot of organizations do. I mean, everybody has to grapple with that, but some lose that, right? They lose who they are. How does the Patriot League continue to grow and evolve and respond to change and with everything going on that we'll get into, obviously NIL and the transfer portal and whatnot, but as there is a different kind of environment of collegiate athletics now, when you see that, how do you keep your identity in an ever-changing world? Because that, to me, is one of the most difficult yet most respectable things when somebody can do that and an organization can do that, is say, hey, in 1986, this is who we were. And yeah, we've grown and we've blossomed and we've evolved and we've changed certain things, but we've never lost this.
What are those things that you feel like this conference has always held on to? And do you find it difficult to hold on to who you are in this ever-changing world?
I think what we do is precisely what you just detailed, which is, okay, here are all these new issues or opportunities, or perhaps future unknown challenges. Each of them presents uniqueness. And we look at it and say, okay, here is this issue. Here is NIL. How are we going to embrace this opportunity for our student athletes in a way that is not contrary to who we are and have always been as a league, which is we are committed to providing top academic athletic experience and graduating individuals that go out and make meaningful contributions to society, right? That's at the end of the day, how do we use something like NIL to enhance what we're providing and what our goal around how we conduct college athletics is.
That coming once again here from Jennifer Heppel, the commissioner of the Patriot League. We are here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. We've spoken on identity, those full-time members, American University there in Washington, D.C., Boston University, obviously in Massachusetts, Bucknell University in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania, Colgate University in Hamilton, New York, very close to my hometown, College of the Holy Cross, and I know this from experience having a best friend that dated somebody from here. It's not Worcester, it's Worcester, so I do know that. Yeah. Lafayette College from Easton, PA, Lehigh University from Bethlehem, PA. We have Loyola University of Maryland out in Baltimore, the U.S. Military Academy, a.k.a. Army, from West Point, New York, and, of course, the U.S. Naval Academy, Navy there from Annapolis, Maryland. When I mention those names and we speak on those full-time members, when you hear that, what are the things that you're most grateful for, the maybe moments or words or something that sticks out to you when I say American, Boston, Bucknell, Colgate, Holy Cross, Lafayette, Lehigh, Loyola University of Maryland, the U.S. Military Academy, and the U.S. Naval Academy, all of those together inside of the Patriot League? What are some words or maybe a memory or two that makes you sit back and say, hey, you know what? This is who we are, this is what we're about, and this is what gets me so energized every day when I come to work?
Yeah, wow. Because as you went through those schools, I'm sitting here smiling. They're just such great institutions. But they are very different. There are two service academies. There are two Jesuit institutions. There's Boston University, which is AAU research institution, and then there are the smaller schools with no graduate school programs, and then smaller private with graduate programs. So, we do represent a sort of remarkable breadth of institutions, but it's again, it comes back. We are together as an athletic conference, but even the differences of those institutions, the commonality with which we approach athletics. And that's what keeps us together. So I can say, what are thinking of instances or, memories. It's going to games, it's going to championships, seeing student athletes that have competed against each other for 4 years, and have created relationships, rivalries, friendships, that are having similar experiences on their campuses, and seeing them talk to each other, sometimes during the game, but more often before or after. Coaches that are incredibly competitive, but at the end of the day make decisions that are in the best interest of the league. And I would say that at all levels, from coach to administrator to the presidents.
And as you mentioned, having some Jesuit schools there, and I have one in my backyard of Lemoyne College that's currently in Division II. What can you say about the Jesuit model and what that means to you and just what it means to the country? Because, there is a small number of Jesuit schools and they found a lot of success as well over the years.
Yeah, and it's it's interesting. I grew up outside of Washington D.C. and so through Georgetown, and I'm don't date myself, but I'm a mid '80s high school graduate. So I was right there when Georgetown had some of its early biggest successes, and I think that's what really kind of introduced me to that connectivity with athletics at an institution like Georgetown. And then I was fortunate enough to work there for a few years. And that's where I was really exposed to that model of education. And then, coming back to the Patriot League a number of years later, actually, the president at Holy Cross at the time had been a vice president at Georgetown. So it was nice. It's a little bit of a family, you get with the Jesuit schools, and to be able to reconnect to him. But what I really appreciate is that commitment to the total person. Right, it's the mind, the body, the spiritual connectivity, and that being successful in any one of those areas will help the other, and you become more complete and stronger, and that commitment to the development of the whole person.
And when you look at the development of the whole person in college athletics today, and you look at the student athletes, and I mean the student body in general, when we look at the student athlete and we look at name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal, when we're trying to build an all-around person, there's a world that's been created with name, image, and likeness that can be very individualistic. There is the transfer portal that can become very individualistic. There are benefits to it. Right, a coach can sign a contract and leave 5 minutes later, and student athletes are saying, well, why don't we have freedom? There's the notion that a coach could have handed you a sheet and said, okay, if you're going to transfer out of here, you got to sit out a year, and here's the 20 schools you can't go to, and maybe 5 of those 20 are the only schools recruiting you. And then name, image, and likeness, NCAA is a billion-dollar industry that says it's non-for-profit, and they make money off of the student athletes, but the student athletes didn't have a way of making money for themselves. So there are benefits to this, but it creates a very individualistic world and a society that has already, at times, seemingly leaned on me and not we. How do we build the entire person collegiately now amidst a world where we're trying to show them how to live in an interdependent world, and individualism seems to be running amok right now?
Yeah, well, I think that is sort of the beauty of athletics and team, is that if you can't do it in our environment where you truly are in a situation on a daily basis working with professionals who are teaching individuals about the value of the whole, and that every piece comes together to create a team that is going to be stronger than any of its individual components. And coaches know that, right? It's what we do in athletics, is we teach the importance of team. And you have to support at times the individual within that. And I don't, a little glass half full approach here. There are new challenges that we're dealing with right now, but I do believe that we will figure them out and it'll settle down a little with some time. I think, you talk about the individualism right now. I would also add to that this sense of immediacy, right? Like it's not everything is going to happen in 30 minutes.
Right.
So let's take the necessary time, not too much time. I do work within the NCAA structure, and I will say we can be overly bureaucratic and slower than an ocean liner in turning. So not typical. But we are fully equipped. This is what we do. We build teams and we compete. And this is all a part of doing that and creating supporting the individual through that. Name, image, and likeness, transfer opportunities. These are important changes. And these are important benefits and opportunities that student athletes are gaining. And it took us too long to get to this point. So therefore, it probably seems really quick, and we are focusing on the negative and the bad. But I think it's an overall positive and important shift that we've made.
So we look at name, image, and likeness, aka NIL, and we look at the transfer portal. Jennifer, for you, what are we hoping to accomplish with this? Like you said, people focus on the negatives, you focus on what goes wrong. The transfer portal is considered by some to be collegiate free agency. The name, image, and likeness side of things has more questions than answers, and some have connected it to the Wild Wild West, that there are good pieces of these both, but there needs to be more of a centralized group of rules and regulations that each state or each team shouldn't be different. How do we move forward and take NIL and transfer portal, make it good? Like, what do you think they're supposed to be, and how do we get them to that? So how would you define what you think NIL and the transfer portal are supposed to do for college athletics, and how do we get there?
Yeah, I think NIL is, I think the potential there is, and the value is for student athletes to benefit from and engage in activities, benefit from their name, image, and likeness, which, by the way, 10, 15 years ago, we weren't even really talking about that much. 20 years ago, maybe a little bit. But culturally, we've changed. And so this is the great opportunity for us to catch up from an athlete, from our student athletes benefiting from it. And it's the opportunity is to engage in activities they're passionate about, and to benefit from that. I think, sure, we've seen the crossing of the line, probably. I read the newspapers, so my knowledge is not inside knowledge. I'm reacting to what everybody else is reacting to, and sometimes it's good information, and sometimes it's not so good information. But does there appear to be, recruiting inducements, pay for play? Sure. Those have been things that we've never embraced in the Patriot League, and we're not going to embrace them now. But do we support educational opportunities? And for our student athletes, absolutely. Do we support their involvement in social entrepreneurship, in charitable and service activities? Absolutely. And those are the types of NIL activities that we would support from the institutional level, from boosters, alums, supporting student athletes in those types of activities. I think that's the great opportunity.
How do we corral this, as it's already out there, right? California came up with a state law, and they said basically, hey, we're going to allow name, image, and likeness, so the schools within our state are going to be able to do this. And then at the time, I believe there was like 9 states that had agreed to have some plan in place, 41 other states. Some of them maybe didn't agree with name, image, and likeness. Some of them needed more time. How did we get to a place where the NCAA said, hey, there's 50 states, not all of you have put into law that you're going to do this, but we're going to test it all out this year. How does the NCAA, I mean, seemingly kind of look like it was a federal government move saying, okay, well, there's states' laws, but we're going to go ahead and jump past all that, make every state do it this year, and then we'll figure it out. How did all that come about, and is there a legal side to that the NCAA had to be leery of afterward?
Oh, I'm sure to all of that. I'm not a lawyer. I'm not counsel to the NCAA. I think that, we have seen, it's not just in NIL, we've seen much more engagement in college athletics from a variety of entities, whether it's the state level or Congress or plaintiff lawyers. I mean, that's just part of the changing world. You can break down NIL and say, look, this is something you own, your name, image, and likeness. I own mine. Why shouldn't a student athlete own his or hers? And in that regard, to me, it doesn't make sense that they wouldn't. A student athlete wouldn't be able to own and benefit off of their own NIL. And then we try to, to a certain extent, you're trying to fit it into this very confined traditional space of college athletics that has not put the power in the hands of the student athletes. And there's conflict there, and I think we're appropriately shifting. And I don't have a great answer right now. I think we're getting through it. I think it is, at the end of the day, it is the right thing to do, and therefore we owe it to ourselves to manage through.
Coming here inside of the Commissioner Central series here with Jennifer Heppel, the Commissioner of the Patriot League on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Jennifer, I know that you, in your time in leadership, have worked with making sure that concussions are spotlit, that there is a conversation about them, that there is something to be looked at as far as making sure that we're protecting people, not just today, but down the road. What can you say about maybe where that is? And, there's this unique world, and I was just having this conversation actually earlier today. There's this unique world of, hey, I'm a football fan, and I have friends that play football, and I'm worried about their future. How do we move forward when it comes to concussions, and what can you say has led to your passion of making sure we are ahead of the curve in trying to not only play a sport that we love, but to make sure that those playing that sport are going to have a good quality of life, a great quality of life afterward?
Right, and I'd say it's beyond just football. It's sports. It's right. Sport in general. I think what's been the most important is the research and the conversation, the fuller understanding of what the risks might be, what the benefits might be. Nothing that we do in life is risk-free. That being said, we have a responsibility to create the safest environment possible as we conduct sports, and that comes through research. And I'm very grateful for the research that is being done worldwide and in this country and on so many college campuses in trying to create the safest environment and rules, whether they're playing rules. It comes down to, when you talk about sports, we have kind of different rules. We're used to talking about, as we were just talking about NIL, we're used to talking about recruiting rules and eligibility and pay for play. There are also playing rules, and there are rules around how often and how long you can practice and how the game is actually played. And all of those come into the conversations around medical safety. And so there's been advances. I think it has challenged us to adapt very quickly when information is learned, and to be able to make changes to our structure, which we've been able to do. And then also the importance of the medical authorities on our campuses and supporting their decision making.
You speak on the medical side of things, right? The advisory groups and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
It's been, you and I were talking a little bit off the air about this, calm, not too much going on. It's not like a commissioner is dealing with NIL, transfer portal, transformation committee, an NCAA president who is shifting out of office, looking for the future. What's the NCAA going to look like? There's obviously a reclassification and realignment going on as well. And amidst all of this, no big deal, just a tiny little pandemic. How have you sat in that chair?
Leading into a question I'm not going to be able to answer. It feels too big.
Well, and that's the thing is, as a commissioner, right? You have the day to day, right? You're looking at all the different things that are going on with your student athletes, with your coaches, with your institutions, with your office itself, with, the greater world of the NCAA. I know you've worked with different committees and have been a piece of different things. So you're seeing the picture of your conference, you're seeing the bigger picture. With all of this other stuff thrown into the pot, how does a commissioner or executive director of a conference even begin to sift through the mountain of paperwork in a world where we're trying to figure out where to go next as a society, as a country, and amidst all of that, the NCAA says, hey, you know what? I think we need to draft a new constitution and figure out who we are. How do you tackle today's world of sports as a commissioner when it is so... It's not like there's a big issue and then 5 tiny ones. There's like 25 big issues. How do you even begin to go through the paperwork on your desk?
Yeah, well, I was a history major, so I'm used to reading a lot. In all seriousness, it's for me, and I do think there's no one way to do this. And I don't have all the answers. The way that I work is that I read a ton, and I take in as much information as I possibly can. And I have a lot of individual conversations, and this is, again, it's a little bit more unique to my work style, but I like to talk to people individually. I find one-on-one that people will test out thoughts, and pretty soon after you've talked to 10 people individually, you realize, here's the consistent theme of what I'm hearing from everybody. And this is what I need to collectively share with the group, because they're all there individually, and that helps us move forward as a group. Or I hear the same question and the same panic and stress from 10 different people, and I go, holy, you know what? I better help people figure this out. I better figure out who to talk to, who to put in front of them, who to give them as a resource, what to give them as a resource to help move through this particular issue.
When you sit down with the leaders of your conference, and you sit down with these institutions and really try to hash things out and look at the future, there's the notion of deregulation and the reality that, we talk about national government, state government, whatnot. There's the reality that maybe this national government, quote unquote, of the NCAA is going to say to their states, aka the conferences, you guys figure it out. How do you feel about each conference being its own island in the greater scope of collegiate athletics?
I think in general it is a good thing. I think that it will help us narrow down and really focus on the issues that we truly need to regulate nationally. And I think there's a lot of debate to be had around what those are. But conferences, we are not all the same. We conduct college athletics, but we're, you know, we're slightly different. And that is, it's an opportunity to really show who we are and to give student athletes as much choice as possible in deciding where they want to go, and what type of experience, what type of athletic and academic experience they want to have. It's going to be difficult, right? It's going to be difficult for us to decide what our, small set of priorities, so to speak, at the national level, because we are all very different. So I think, I don't have the answer, but I think it's a process we need to go through, and I do think we need to decentralize. I think it's a necessary part of where we are in the larger landscape of managing some of these challenging issues.
So in a decentralized model, how do you stay together? How do you compete against one another in a world of decentralization? How do you, as each conference, say, okay, this is how we're going to tackle the issue, and we're all different from each other? How do you find a way then to all coexist? Or do we see the dissolving of the FBS and the FCS, and now Division I may become more factions, may become more change? We know the SEC has 16 schools when Oklahoma and Texas come in. We know within the autonomy group, there's 3 conferences that have a group within the group, which is the joint alliance of the Big Ten, the Pac-12, and the ACC. We have the conversation of the quote-unquote Power Five, the quote-unquote Group of Five. It seems like there's basically the NCAA, when it comes to football, to use that as an example, I feel like I'm in a cafeteria and everybody's eating off the same menu, but they're all sitting at click tables. So how do we go forward if we deregulate, if we decentralize? How do we figure this thing out and continue to compete against each other? How do conferences say, this is what we're going to do on our own and this is what we believe, and then still have the spirit of competition and can still figure out bylaws that are going to work within everybody? So how do we take care of us, of a conference, and then how do you, if you decentralize, then how do you come together and say, okay, these are the things that we're all going to be the same at, these are the things that we have to have when it comes to competition against each other, but these other things we get to keep to ourselves?
That's going to be our great challenge, right? You may have, we're ever evolving. College athletics looks different today than it did 20 years ago, than it did 20 years before that. And it's going to look different in another 20 years. And it may look different in another 5 years, but I'd argue it looked different 5 years ago too. Or I guess I'll say 7 years ago when cost of attendance first came in. That wasn't all that long ago, right? But it feels like, a few generations. That's going to be our challenge. But I think what the conferences that will succeed, and this is where you could continue to see movement and transition and institutions aligning with like institutions in terms of whatever this new world looks like, and around areas of, what are we paying? Are we, as a conference, not we being the Patriot League, but would a conference say, look, we're going to revenue share?
Yeah.
And another conference say, we're not going to revenue share. And then the next question is, well, then do those two conferences still want to compete against each other?
Yeah.
And that's, that's what we're going to work. That's what we have to work our way through.
That comment here from Jennifer Heppel, the commissioner of the Patriot League, inside of our Commissioner Central series on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, inside of the Cafe Kubal studios. Jennifer, before I let you go here, taking a look at some of the things that you've done, and when we talk about this bigger scope, serving within the Collegiate Commissioners Association, the CCA, including as chair of the Football Championship Subdivision, aka FCS Commissioners Group, and the CCA 22, the FCS and Division I Subdivisions Commissioners Group. Also, as the FCS Commissioner representative to the NCAA Playing Rules Oversight Panel from 2017 to 2020.
I passed that torch. My good friend Joey D took the baton on Playing Rules Oversight Panel.
Yeah.
So,
but I got it. But having that and then having the CCA. I mean, I've heard about the CCA over the last few weeks. I know the NCAA Playing Rules Oversight Panel, which you didn't sound all too excited about having to give up, and obviously I'm being facetious, but
it's a great group. It really is.
But looking at what you've done with that and the Collegiate Commissioners Association, what can you say about all of this? Because I know other people that have been involved as well, or are involved right now, that definitely feel the workload and the intensification of their job and being a part of these things.
Oh yeah, I mean, purely from a personal standpoint, and I think we all, regardless of our profession, the last few years have really tested us as people, as families, as friends, as professionals, and I so rely on my friends, my colleagues, the commissioners, and there aren't many of us. There are only 32 of us, which is not a large group on the Division I side there, and we know each other, and we can pick up the phone and we can talk to each other and have good just conversations as professionals and as friends, and know that we're there to support each other. And so from a very personal level, over especially right in the middle of the pandemic, just being able to, pick up the phone and scream and then hang it up. Like, okay, thanks. That was therapeutic. But it is, I think a little bit of what can get lost in understanding is what a tight-knit group we are. And I'd say that about college athletics. This has been an almost 30-year career for me, and some of the friends I met my first year are still some of my closest professional friends, and we've each had maybe 5 or 6 job changes during that time. Yet here we are, and we might be, sitting in a commissioner room together. And you've got that 30 years of shared experience to rely on. And it's why I love doing what I do. It's the people. You work with people who love what they do and want to do the right thing and the best thing. And I believe we'll figure it out.
How do you handle the heated conversations, the screaming call, "This is how I feel," and the hang up? How do, and by the way, when you mentioned that, I was like, oh my God, I want to be in that room. So, I mean, like, I want to be, but I don't want to be. I want to be in the room because I want to be a fly on the wall, but I don't want to be in the room because I'm like, what does this mean for us? So how do you do, I mean, because you get to a point where, somebody's going to say something and someone's going to go, you know what? I've had enough. I'm done with this. This is how I feel. And so, we know that there's different personalities, and in any walk of life, I mean, for goodness sakes, when you're in high school and you get put in a group of 5, there's somebody in that group that doesn't want to do anything, or maybe they have a totally different vision than everybody else, and they feel ganged up on, and then they don't want to help. So how do you handle
being in a room where there is that phone call, and it is a very swift thought, and then the phone goes beep beep beep, and that's it. I mean, how do you handle those moments?
Yeah, so it's it's always it's interesting, but it's what am I? I'm searching for the right words here because I'm still laughing. Right? It's it's like, I think one of the great things is that we accept and support honest expressions and conversations. And at the end of the day, I said it, we're all different. We're not supposed to have the same perspective or outlook. Our conferences are different. So I wouldn't expect the commissioner of another conference to say exactly what I say or what I think. And we are representing our conferences. And we're representing our universities, and that's what we do. I promote the mission and vision of the Patriot League, but I also support the individual efforts and collective efforts of our institutions. And that's what we're all doing. That's just what all of us are doing, is trying to support our schools. And it's not personal.
And in the world of the Collegiate Commissioners Association, the CCA, when you have commissioners in a room stating their case and whatnot, like you said, it's not personal. You're trying to protect your institutions within your conference. How do you think things are? I mean, do you believe that each conference is given the opportunity to be heard? Does it seem bureaucratic at times?
You're getting into governance now, aren't you?
I am a little bit into governance, a little bit into that.
Look, it is hard sometimes to feel like you have a voice if you don't have a seat at the table, if you're not in the room.
Yeah.
Right, I get that. I'm right now the Patriot League is in what I would call an off rotation from having a president on the Division I Board of Directors. And so we don't have anybody in that room. And that, that on face value can be frustrating. That being said, I also understand that you can have inertia if there are too many people in the room, right? You are not nimble if there are too many bureaucrats in a room. And so there has to be a balance there. And if it means that we don't have a room, because it's not just one person, it's not just one president from 32 conferences. You have other constituents that are, need to be represented in the room. It's important to have student athletes in the room. It's important to have faculty in the room. All of a sudden you could be pushing 50 people trying to make a decision.
Yeah.
And now it's starting to look a little bit like Congress, right? It's a tricky balance. It can be frustrating to not be in the room, but I do think from a model perspective of governance and decision making, you have to be able to trust the people that are in the room and making those decisions, which means you need to be able to work behind the scenes and know how to work behind the scenes and be able to talk to the people that are in the room and feel comfortable that even if they're not of your conference, you've been able to share your perspective.
No, that's fair. Make sure if you're not in the room to somehow have those relationships where you can be involved, right? At least sit down with somebody and say, hey, can you bring this up? Can you talk about this? And then trust comes in that they actually will, or that they value that and whatnot. I mean, it is a difficult world. Like I said, there's groups within the groups, and it's created a very strange kind of dynamic of the NCAA. Amidst all of this, the president of the NCAA, Mark Emmert, is going to be stepping down in the not too distant future. And at the beginning of the pandemic, he came out, and I'm paraphrasing, but he said, "There is no czar in college football. I can't tell a conference or an institution whether or not they can play." So when he said that, it left a lot of people thinking, well, if college football is an NCAA sport, but it's not governed by the NCAA, then what is the NCAA president's role? What would you like to see moving forward as we continue to look at, the transformation process, the Constitution, and all these different pieces? What would you like to see from an NCAA president, or would you rather like to see an NCAA overall ruling board? Dare I call it, an NCAA Supreme Court justice instead of just a president?
Yeah, wow. I think what I would like to see us do is to say, what are the things that are most important to us? And then how do we effectively run, govern, whatever the word you want to use is. And I think championships are important. I think it's the most important thing we do. And so how do we sustain national championships? What does that look like? And what does it look like to have fair competition? And what does it look like to provide a healthy student-athlete experience? Whether that's a physical, mental, academic experience. And then, once we figure out why we are doing what we're doing, I think the answer of how you govern it is easier. But we've got to figure out who we are first, and who we are multi-divisionally, or any, Division 1, 2, or 3, or divisions A, B, C, D, E, or whatever you want to call it. Who are we? And then I think how we manage ourselves might be a little bit easier to sort through.
Jennifer, I think you and I at this point should sit on a board. We should just start this thing. Who do we have to talk to? And I feel like the conversation here today it's deep, it's vast, it's a very thick lasagna, but it's also at the same time we're digesting it, we're talking about it. In closing here, I do want to get back to the Conference of the Patriot League. You do have your associate members, Fordham in football, you have Georgetown in football and rowing, MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology in rowing, and University of Richmond in women's golf. Your thoughts on associate members with your full-time members? I know you have to do things in order to make sure that, sports continue to, I don't want to say survive, but thrive within a conference. So what can you say about that? That you have continuity of your conference itself and your full-time members. And of course you have your charter members of Lehigh, Lafayette, Holy Cross, Colgate, and Bucknell. You have all of those. You have your full-time members overall, but the role of associate members, what can you say about that kind of world that's been created in collegiate athletics, that, each conference kind of has to look at times and say to itself, it may not make sense geographically, but we need to go find another women's golf team, or we need to grab somebody for rowing, or we really want to build this football model. What can you say to the associate side of things?
Yeah, it is an interesting conversation, and probably each conference is a little unique, and then each sport is also a little unique, and you have an overlay of conference priorities and national sort of minimums that you need to meet in order to stay active as a national championship sport, so to speak. The number one for us is always going to be ensuring the strength of the Patriot League and the multi-sport conference that it is. And then when you look at associate members, And they really are. They're associate members. They are institutions that share our vision and want to conduct those particular sports in the same manner that we do. But then you also get to the very practical of, we want to provide a championship experience. And if we only have 5 women's golf teams, we need to find a 6th member. And so here's this great institution in the University of, Richmond that looks very similar to us. It's just a little bit of, a little bit more south than our southern boundary. But golf is a sport that we don't do regular season competition in. You come together for a championship.
Yeah.
And so it made sense and makes sense in a sport like golf because of the way the sport's conducted. Whereas if for us, that would be more challenging in a sport with a double round robin schedule where you couldn't bus maybe down, from our northernmost to our southernmost school, where if that were the case. And now we can, and that's important for the type of experience that we're trying to provide, is to keep the geographic footprint as tight as possible when you're talking about midweek regular season competition. And that's very different than a sport like golf, right, where it's an end of the season tournament. And providing that championship experience and access to the NCAA championship. And rowing similar, although both Georgetown and MIT are, of course, within our geographic footprint. And the same for football. So you can see it there, right? Just the way that we have approached associate membership.
Yeah, and to make sense of that and to have that. And you, before coming to the Patriot League, had experience with Georgetown within the Big East and of course, having experience with the Big Ten. When you look back on all of those moments and what you learned from them, the Big East has evolved into what it is today. The Big Ten is one of the autonomy group members. So when you look back on those experiences and you're working things out in the Patriot League, how do you pull back and say, you know what, I took this from here, I understood this from here, maybe I know what it's like to have a seat at the table when I was sitting here with the Big Ten, so this is what we need to do. Do you feel yourself in the Patriot League saying, hey, because of my experiences and my knowledge and my wisdom within these worlds, I can now help the Patriot League to make sure we position ourselves correctly?
I think so. I think the Patriot League is strong enough, before I came in and after I leave at some point, that they know who they are. And, it's not, I don't need to remind them of that. I think from a very kind of practical athletics administration, I can say, things like, my experience is when you spend a lot of time in divisions and you don't compete against each other consistently, you lose that sense that you're in it together. And over time, that leads to people sitting at the table that don't know each other. And that can be harmful to a dynamic.
A lot of words here.
That's my experience.
Yeah, and it makes perfect sense. And I think I love the way you put it. Harmful to be in a situation like that. Jennifer, you have brought us to so many places here today. I honestly want to just say, okay, you know what, Jennifer, you and I are going to meet Mondays at noon. We're going to Zoom call it, and we're going to figure this thing out. That's let's have some coffee and let's hash it out. But
okay, well, let's do it, because that's good, actually, day of the week timing. The Transformation Committee meets every Tuesday, so if we do it Monday, we could just drop them our notes, and we'll get this figured out in no time.
There you go. Jennifer Heppel coming to us from the Patriot League Commissioner. Jennifer, I remember you, bringing that, so much knowledge and wisdom. Also the ability to have personality within all of this and levity to it as well. So I thank you for all the work that you're doing, and I really do appreciate the vast amount of time that you've allowed me in this Commissioner Central series that's focusing on the Patriot League, because I feel like I've learned so much, and I hope that people listening and watching feel the same way, that, we're having this honest conversation and we're looking into this world and really getting that view into what it is, not what we think it is, but what is going on. And I love that. I love the sharing of information and to really just break it all down. And you have the personality to do it. So if you do want to have those Monday meetings, you let me know, and I'll do what I can to make sure that we get this thing done and we do it in a correct fashion. I will tell you, I'm bringing comedy to it. So if you're telling me that those NCAA meetings get a little dry, I'm about to spice that up a little bit. So.
I'll take it. No, in all seriousness, thank you for the time and allowing me, the opportunity to engage in the conversation. It's you've asked some important, challenging questions, and I appreciate that. So thank you.
Avicolli's, located on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, has been your trusted neighbor for decades. Located just steps from Liverpool High School, we're happy to have the Liverpool Warriors on-site, on-location broadcast at Avicolli's through Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora every single month, featuring student-athletes, coaches, and administration throughout the year from Liverpool High School. Head out to Avicolli's today on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, open Tuesday through Sunday for lunch, dinner, and drinks. We'd love to see you out there. And of course, you can call them at 315-622-5100 for takeout, delivery, and catering. That's 315-622-5100. And also find them on myavicollis.com. That's myavicollis.com. Having peace of mind when you're out of town that your furry-loving friend is safe and sound means taking them to Canine Campground, because we all know that when it comes to the love of our pets, it goes well beyond the call of duty to make sure they're safe and sound. Right, Lily? So take a ride to 242 Johnson Street in East Syracuse, New York, and see Canine Campground and where your dog will be staying, in the classic cabin, the executive cabin, the grand cabin, or of course the luxury cabin, because if you know Lily, you know she loves luxury. Now you don't have to wait to the last minute to find a family member or a friend that'll take your dog for a few days. Call Canine Campground at 315-299-4013. That's 315-299-4013. Their drop-off and pickup times are Monday through Sunday. Check K9campground.com for more information. That's the letter K, the number 9, and campground spelled with a K.com. K9campground.com.
When you're going out of town, bring your dog to Canine Campground.
PB&J's Lunchbox, the food truck that you love finding all throughout Central and Upstate New York, now has a street-side cafe. So when you're craving their traditional favorites as well as their out-of-box amazing menu items, you can now head to 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. Located just minutes from the highway, the Thruway, Destiny USA, and Onondaga Lake Parkway, PB&J's Lunchbox Street-Side Cafe is there for you Monday through Saturday from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner all throughout the day. Get breakfast for dinner, dinner for lunch, whatever you fancy, including their award-winning grilled peanut butter and jelly sandwich. Find them at 663 Old Liverpool Road in Liverpool, New York. PB&J's Lunchbox, where we love to know what's in your lunchbox. As a patient, what do we want? To be cared for, to be listened to and to have someone walk us through the process on our path to victory. Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics does all of those things beautifully, with Dr. Mark Petropoli leading the team on 791 West Genesee Street in Skaneateles, New York, located minutes from beautiful Skaneateles Lake. Whatever your injury may be from head to toe, preventative care, rehab, physical therapy, laser therapy, and surgery are all available at Victory Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, where they care about us, they listen to us, and they understand that everyone's path to victory is a little bit different. Let them help you on yours by calling 315-685-7544 to make your appointment today. That's 315-685-7544. And find out more information at victorysportsmedicine.com. Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora from inside of the Cafe Kubal Studios. Very happy to be here with you where sports meets that thing called life. And it's time to round out today's show with the ingredients to success, proudly brought to you by Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York. Very, very much appreciated the fact that we have the opportunity to be here with Avicolli's every single week and to give you yet another positive segment. You know, our segments all throughout the week are always here to spread positivity, to spread love, comedy, faith, all the good stuff, right? And I always say that Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is a vehicle, and inside of the vehicle, we put all those things in it. We put faith, we put positivity, we put love, we put goodness. We want to bring that all to you. We drive that vehicle to you every single week and proudly do that. And I would love for you to join me inside the vehicle for the road trip. So always happy to have you here with me, and thank you so much for being here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets that thing called life. So the ingredients topic today for the ingredients to success is care for life. You know, I this morning was mowing the lawn, and I have a small tree, and I didn't think anything of it. The tree had gotten kind of wild, and so I was just cutting branches back, and, you know, I didn't take that delicate care to it, right? I didn't take that tender, loving care, those things that we need to do, and I just, you know, was cutting back the tree and cutting back the tree and cutting back the tree and just chopping down these branches and whatnot, and because I wanted it out of the way. I didn't want it to look bad. And I saw something on the ground, I think when I went to pick up the branches, and on the ground I saw this beautiful blue egg, light blue, you know, kind of like Carolina blue, maybe a little bit darker. And I said to myself, I was like, this can't be. I mean, it was a beautiful egg, absolutely beautiful. And I was like, is this a blue jay? You know, is this blue jay egg or what? I'm looking at it, and it was cracked. And when I turned it over, I found that it had passed. And I don't know if it passed from the fall. I don't know if it passed from something else that I did in the moment. And then I saw a few other ones on the ground, and two of them were totally closed. So I lifted those up carefully with my glove, and I placed them back into the nest. And I thought to myself, and I actually got down on my knee and I prayed and I cried. And I got emotional to the moment. All life matters to me. And there's no one's life more important than the other to God. And so to me, all of our lives have to be considered important, even from those that are tough to handle sometimes. And, you know, I feel like maybe some people would walk by and go, whatever, it's a bird. Or it looked like a Jordan almond. It really did. And, you know, maybe some people would walk by, I couldn't. Maybe some people wouldn't get emotional, I did. And I think for me, this morning it was a reminder of the sanctity of life, of the beauty of life, and to not rush through things and to not go into things without a plan, or at least a blueprint of some sort of what you hope to accomplish. Now, I wanted to accomplish getting the branches down, but thank God I saw what I saw when I saw it, because then when I looked up and I was looking for the nest, as soon as I looked up, I saw the nest right there on the edge of the branch that I probably was going to, it was right there to be cut, right? It was right in front of me. The branches I'd been cutting, there's the nest right there. Beautiful nest. And if I had done something different and if I had cut a little bit deeper, I could have knocked down the entire nest. And could have been more than one egg that was gone. So I think that this morning, I don't want to say I think that. I know that, right? I know that this morning we should focus on the sanctity of life, the beauty of life, and the importance of it. And to understand that we can't rush through life. We can't just breeze through things and not pay attention. We can't just go at something without the care and the love. And, from here until the rest of my life, I'm going to have that. From here until the rest of my life, I'm going to have that notion because of today of, hey, look before you cut it down. See what it's all about. See what's going on. Make sure there's not a nest in there. Because I looked under quick. And honestly, I looked under quick. And yeah, I looked under quick to see for bees and for birds quickly. But it was just kind of a quick action of, okay, let me just make sure that everything's good here. And I didn't look all around. So, did I mean to do it? No. But what did it teach me? It taught me that we really need to pay attention. And we really need to care. And we really need to make sure that we're doing what we can to protect and just appreciate life around us. I think we get so caught up in everything that we may not even think about other human beings, let alone birds. But today I sat here and I said to myself, that's the end of a life. That's it. That's the end. And maybe it fell out before me. Maybe it fell out because of me. But it makes you think about your actions affecting others. And some of you may be thinking I'm going too far with this, but I'm not, right? You look down at your phone, you could kill somebody. You take your eyes off of your cat or your dog or your child, and they could be in the street. And you hope to God that the car stops, right? So I think that sometimes we just try to get things done and we think about ourselves, right? And we think about, okay, well, I got 15 minutes to do this and I got to get this done because then I got to go back inside and I got to get ready for this. And now I'll protect that nest with everything I have. So to me now, I'll do everything I can, and I hope to God that all them little baby birds come flying out of there. And I'm sorry to the mom and to the dad that there was a couple on the ground. There's a few on the ground. And I would do anything in the world to make it up to them. So I think that for me, it's incredibly important this morning to give you the ingredients to success. Care about other people's lives. Be good to others. Think about others. Don't rush through things. Remember that you may be affecting something. And even being outside, I mean, you can be affecting the life of those around you. You may not like squirrels. You may not like mice. You may not like snakes. You may not like bunny rabbits. You may not like the stray cat. You may not like the birds that are here. You may not like the bees that are around. But this is their world too. And they were given life by God, just like we were, to live in it. And live in it and prosper in it. And so when I go out and I cut my lawn the next time, I'm going to be very cognizant of protecting And I hope you will too. One of the most beautiful things I've ever seen on this planet was that egg. And now I just pray and I hope that Mom and Dad can birth those little ones, and I hope I see them fly out of my tree. I hope they come back to the tree, you know? I hope we're always a home to them. So that being stated, I thank you for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora this morning. I appreciate you so very much. We are more than just a sports show. We are where sports meets life, and you can tune in every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. YouTube.com, Facebook.com, and MixLR.com are all /WakeUpCallDT, as well as on WakeUpCallDT.com. And, of course, you can find us on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT. Those are all the live avenues Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. You can also find us on Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, MixLR, YouTube, iTunes and Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Podbean, and more, Amazon Music, Audible. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. And once the shows go live, and when they're live, when they're here with us, when we're out there in the community with you, wherever we are, we want to thank our Central and Upstate New York partners, Cafe Kubal, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, PB&J's Lunchbox, Canine Camp Dog Daycare, Avicoli's Canine Campground Dog Boarding, Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. You can go to maandpa'spopcorn.com and order from anywhere in the country, and they will deliver it to you. Honda City of Liverpool, Pizza Man, Chick-fil-A Cicero, and Chick-fil-A Clay, and the wonderful people at Mother's Cupboard, where we got to share that feature with Coach Hicks today. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the proud multimedia marketing partner of your Lemoyne College Dolphins. It is Fins Up every single month on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, the proud supporter and spotlight for the Lemoyne College Dolphins. And we are so happy every Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time to bring you Dolphin Time. And on the first and third Wednesday, we have AD and DT with Athletics Director Bob Beretta and myself, Dan Tortora. Every second and fourth Wednesday, we bring you the Dolphin Dive Specials with coaches, student athletes, administration, future Dolphins, and alumni. This week we will be featuring Scott Cassidy, the head coach of the Lemoyne Dolphins baseball team after a very successful season, and we'll be talking about some of those Dolphins that are in the pros right now. So make sure you tune in. You can find our Dolphin content by going to the Lemoyne tab on wakeupcalldt.com. You can also go to youtube.com /wakeupcalldt and connect with us there by subscribing, and you can get more information by going to LeMoyneDolphins.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is also the proud exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Marywood University Pacers. Pacer Pride is here with us every Friday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time, rounding out the week of Wake Up Call shows. We're always happy to bring you our Pacers, from the administration to the coaches and the student athletes. It is my honor and my privilege to bring you my alma mater's Pacers and to be able to celebrate what Marywood is and what Pacers can do. Find out our specials by going to the Marywood tab on wakeupcalldt.com. You also can find the Marywood content that we have here with Pacer Pride specials on youtube.com /wakeupcalldt by clicking subscribe. And for more information, go to marywoodpacers.com. Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats. The Bobcats here in Syracuse, New York, are happy to bring you Bobcat Buzz specials every single month in our exclusive partnership. We already brought you one here for this month very early on in June, as we were able to celebrate the commitment from Mackay Reed coming from Syracuse Academy of Science in Syracuse, New York, and staying here in our wonderful community by joining the Bryan and Stratton Bobcats of Syracuse in their men's basketball program. So make sure that you check out that Mackay Reed special on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt, and all of our content with the Bobcats there by clicking subscribe. You can also go to the BSC SYR tab on wakeupcalldt.com, and for more information on your Bobcats, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com. In the meantime, I want to wish you a God bless, no stress, do your best, and we'll see you tonight with the Liverpool softball team. We will be celebrating their Section 3 Class AA championship, as well as their continued run toward the hopes of a state championship. The Liverpool softball team, with Phil DeAugustine, their head coach, and their wonderful student athletes and families, will join me today at 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time on June 7th at Avicolli's on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road in Liverpool, New York, minutes down the road from Liverpool High School. So we will see you there, and in the meantime, stay